My name is Caley Africa. This is Heavy Chef, the platform for people that do. And today we're talking to Roxy Davis. Roxy Davis is a 9-time South African surf champion. 9-time South African surf champion. As if that alone is not enough, she has also represented South Africa. In actual fact, she is the only South African to have represented the country in the 3 forms of surf discipline: longboard, shortboard, and stand-up paddleboarding, as well as being the national team manager and the national coach. But away from the surfing discipline, she is also a mother, and she is the founder of 2 entities, the very successful business called Surf Emporium, which is found on the Muizenberg Strip, and the founder of the Roxy Davis Foundation, which engages in inclusive surfing and is using surfing as therapy, which is something that is very close to Roxy's heart. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one and only Roxy Davis. Roxy, thank you so much for being with us today. It's truly a pleasure to have you, and we're looking forward to having you on our stage on the 22nd of August.
Thank you.
Now, you're a 9-time South African surf champion. I want to take you back to when you started surfing and how you actually got into the discipline at a time where it was a very male-dominated sport.
I think I've always had love for the ocean and for any form of water sport. So it doesn't matter if I'm in, a body of water, I'm happy.
Sure.
And I think my father always was a surfer. He surfed up the East Coast, and we moved to Kommetjie when I was about 12 years old.
Sure.
I picked up an old surfboard that was lying in the garage, and I think the first competition or first event that I entered was an Anything That Floats contest.
Sure.
Spent about 9 hours in the water that day, and that was me. I was hooked for life.
Yeah. And what is it about surfing that gripped you? I mean, apart from being in the water, what was it about being on a board, out in the ocean that truly gripped you?
I think being in the present moment.
Yes.
Today, the environment is very fast-paced. We're always on our phones. We have a lot of noise going on around us. A lot of people engaging with you at all levels all the time. When you're in the water, it's just you. It's the board. It's the wave.
Sure.
And it's that sound of the ocean that's washing over you. You have to be present at all times, because if
Sure.
you're not, you get bashed around.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to catch that next wave.
Sure.
So I think it's just. It's my form of surf therapy, I call it.
Sure.
And I really just love being in that present moment.
And at what age did you start surfing competitively?
I'm very competitive by nature, so I started surfing, and then about 3 or 4 months later, I started my first competition. When I first started, there weren't many, girls surfing.
Yes.
Very male dominated,
Sure.
so we entered the boys division.
Yes.
Paddle like the boys, surf like the boys, hustled like the boys.
Sure.
And I think that was a really great advantage for me, because I learned a lot quicker, and I had to find my place and space and voice
Sure.
in the lineup.
And were you sponsored at this young age? Did you have corporate sponsoring you guys when you were 12 competing with the boys, or was that something that came at a later stage in your career?
I was partnered with the brand Quicksilver.
Yes.
Roxy wasn't yet in the country, so
Sure.
Quicksilver's the male side of the brand, and Roxy's the female side.
Sure.
And when I first started surfing, my first competition, it was the first SA Champs, so
Sure.
South African Championships. I placed second at my first championships, and Quicksilver brought me on board as an
Sure.
ambassador for the brand. From then, I think it was about 2 years later, I became a brand ambassador for Roxy.
Sure.
And I have been ever since.
Sure.
But there wasn't, sponsorship, then you're talking about a sticker on a board and a couple
Sure.
of t-shirts, and you're really stoked about it.
Sure. And at this point in time, sponsorship, the idea of sponsorship has changed quite drastically, right?
Yes.
In 2019,
Yes.
people are actually surviving off of it at a very young age.
Absolutely. I think sponsorship, it's very different to today to what it was.
Sure.
You're more of an ambassador in that role.
Sure.
You can kind of survive off financial
Yes.
support of sponsorship. Sometimes it's just product sponsorship, which is
Sure.
fantastic as well.
Sure.
But it's really wonderful to be collaborating with a brand.
Yes. And well, actually, the interesting thing was when I heard your name is Roxy Davis, and you're the founder of Surf Emporium, I think a lot of people think that you are the brand, Roxy.
Yes.
A lot of people have confused the two, and actually myself, I thought, well, if it isn't that, it's a great synchronicity for them, It's been a great partnership.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this competitive spirit that, was innate to you, but obviously also was nurtured during these years of professional surfing. At what age did you stop competing professionally?
I started getting very selective about the events that I was competing at.
Sure.
When I finished school, I actually did homeschool. So I spent more time out of school than I was at school.
Sure.
With the competition
Because of traveling, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So we realized homeschool was the route to go.
Sure.
My mom was very supportive in every decision that I made.
Sure.
And I was competing, it was literally every weekend. So traveling either through South Africa or traveling internationally. And when I got to the decision of finishing school, my mom always said to me, you pick something, you're going to study something.
Sure.
And you're going to keep moving forward. So make a decision.
Yeah.
And I studied to become a chef, actually.
Sure.
And that gave me many other opportunities to kind of in business and in life.
Sure.
And I'd say my last competition, formal competition, was the World Longboard Championships in China, where my son, I took him along, he was 4 months old.
Sweet.
And yeah, that was the World Longboard Champs.
What have you learned from competing at this level?
I think the grit and tenacity. So we spoke about that, how important it is to be the best at your level, to be the best competitor, to be focused, to arrive on time, to be the most prepared, never miss a heat. So like I can say that in my 24 years of competitive surfing, my number one goal, you never miss a heat. You don't get an interference. You play by the rules and you work hard.
And I mean, training for these, preparation for these competitions, what did that look like day to day?
A lot of surfing.
Yeah. Hours, I mean, how many hours, if you can put an hourly?
So when I first started, it was more about just the time in the water. Because I started at the age of 12, it was considered quite late. My peers were maybe starting at like 6 or 7 years old. That's where my son is starting now, but on a social side of it. So I made up with it with the time in the water, quantity time, like over the quality. But I think training now has changed and evolved so much that it's not just about the time in the water that you spend, it's also about that time in the gym, cross-training, in the pool. It's really important to make sure that you maintain like fit and healthy. What you put in your body is really important.
So it's a daily commitment. I mean, you've got schedules written up, you've got meal plans written up when you're competing at that level.
So I've currently just finished a 14-week training program, taking a bit of a few weeks rest, and then you start the program again. So it's a build-up. You make sure that you eat right, you sleep well, you train hard, you spend your time in the water, and then also make sure that you have a healthy work, home, and sport balance.
So now with this level of rigidity, it sounds, when things go wrong, as with the entrepreneurial journey, I mean, I can imagine that as much as you plan entrepreneurship, which is great because it's one aspect of it, entrepreneurship throws those plans for six.
Yes.
As a founder, how did you deal with that? Because I think, like, you know, when you've trained for so many years in this competitive mind space, that like what I put in is almost what I'm going to get out. I think entrepreneurship, and I'm not saying like, you know you're going to win the surf championships, but I think entrepreneurship is one of the disciplines that throws that for six, you know.
Well, I think in sport, specifically in surfing, you don't know that you're going to win. So you can do so many different things to get yourself prepared to a point, but there are so many variables, changing conditions, the tide, the wind, the athletes that you're competing against, the hustle in the water, and it's very similar in the work or entrepreneurial environment. So I think you have to just be ready for everything, adapt to the changing environment, and my kind of philosophy is always, yes, I can, or yes, we can. There aren't any problems, there are only challenges which we're going to overcome, because there's always a way to overcome it.
And what apart from that, what other, you know, aspects of this highly competitive sort of existence that you led did you bring into your entrepreneurial journey? Can we talk largely to mind space, you know, and some, maybe even the smaller details as like, you know, the discipline that you practice on a day-to-day within your own business?
Well, I think in the surf industry, it's still very much kind of male dominated. So I can understand how to adapt to that. Being a female business owner in the male space in the surf industry, I know kind of when to step forward, when to step back. I know how to play the game very well. My husband and I work in the business together. So we kind of divided it up. He runs our retail side, I run the surf school side, we've got a coffee shop, and the whole experience, I think, is what it's about. So kind of creating that experience for everybody under one roof. And I think that it's important to remain focused,
Sure.
to reset. I
Sure.
think sometimes I have to realize that I'm a mom, I'm a businesswoman, you know, I'm me,
Yeah.
Roxy.
Yeah.
I'm an athlete, an ambassador,
Yeah.
and yes, there are boxes that I have to compartmentalize,
Sure.
but they are never separate. They're
Sure.
one and the same, and I always have to kind of take a few steps back, check in with myself,
Sure.
have that quiet time and say, okay, reflect, reset. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong?
Sure.
What am I learning?
Sure.
Am I moving forward? Who am I taking with me? Are they benefiting from it?
Sure.
Because I think that the journey is it's not just about me, it's about who I'm taking with me.
Yes.
Be it our customers, be it our team members.
Sure.
Yeah.
How
very
often
important.
would you say you tap into these points of reflection? Because that's very interesting for me.
I think I know where my stretch is, so
Sure.
where the elastic stretches to the end.
Yes.
My biggest challenge is I know the reserve that I have in the tank,
Yes.
and I always stretch past where I
Yes.
should.
Yes.
So I know how to push myself to that point, and I think being an entrepreneur, you do that.
Yes.
You know how far to stretch and how much further you can go.
Sure.
So I probably, when I stretch to the point where the band is tight, I know,
Sure.
okay, my husband always knows this well.
Yes.
He says, okay, you just go have your surf, you go have your quiet time,
Sure.
not the training athletic surf time,
Yes.
you just go spend time in the water.
Yeah.
And then process, ask those questions to myself. So
Yeah.
I think I probably push myself further than I should,
Sure.
but I recognize that as well.
Yeah, well, that's self-awareness, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure at this level of competing for so many years, that self-awareness has become such a key variable for your, not sanity, but, you know, day-to-day
Yeah.
progress and to keep it going.
Yeah.
But I think let's actually touch on some of the core stats of Surf Emporium, the business that you have founded, because, you know, when you go there, I'm not sure that everybody would actually realize exactly like what a massive business it is and how many people you're employing. So can we touch on some of the core stats that you'd be willing to reveal?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that underpin Surf Emporium and what makes us different is that it's not just about our customers, it's about our team.
Sure.
So Sam, who heads up Surf Emporium, she is a mom of 4.
Yeah.
She was with Standard Bank for 30 years.
Yeah.
She's a wealth of knowledge. I learn from her every day.
Yeah.
But I also learn from, you know, my young surf coach Kai, who's only 16, and
Sure.
she's the social media guru.
Sure.
And I know that I have experience on both sides.
Sure.
So I think that what makes us different is that we recognize that it's not just the customers,
Sure.
but it's our team.
Sure.
And we look at our team as what we call an incubator model. So we've got the young 16-year-olds,
Sure.
and we have, you know, some of our surf coaches are helicopter pilots. They're, you know, dads. They are businessmen as well, and they keep within our community because they want to be part of the family.
Sure.
So, I mean, when you talk about stats, our last, because we track all our numbers,
Sure.
boards on the water, I think it's really important, especially when you're collaborating with partners,
Sure.
to tell them exactly, we're putting X number of boards on the water. So our last financial year, we had, I think it was 49,000 boards on the water between lessons and rentals.
Sure.
So it's a lot of foot traffic through, you know, one small space.
Yes.
And maintaining the level of excellence,
Sure.
I think, is really critical.
And how many people are you guys employing at present?
Our surf coaching team goes up to maybe 110 in summer.
Yeah.
And the core team between kind of the in-store and our coffee shop
Sure.
is maybe about another 20.
Sure. So that's
So,
people management.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole nother role. We'll talk about that in the next interview. I mean, I think like, over 100 people to be managing, it's insane. But I'm going to bring us back because it's a wonderful foundation that you have going, the Roxy
Yes.
Davis Foundation. And why have you set that up and why is it important to you?
I think what I've reflected a lot on what we've done, and my philosophy or motto has always been, you know, surfing has changed my life.
Sure.
And I wanted to give back everything that I'd received through surfing. We started with a little umbrella on the beach.
Yeah.
The focus was to teach some girls how to surf.
Yeah.
And it just really grew into what it is today.
Yeah.
And I realized actually that what I've been doing informally through Surf Emporium
Sure.
is surf therapy.
Sure.
You know, it may be an environment where customers are coming to pay for an experience,
Yeah.
but what they're getting is so much more than just riding a wave. They are getting what I have seen and what has changed my life. Surfing is medicine, and
Sure.
it's the conversation topic that's going around the world at the moment. And it's been the reason why we formalized the Roxy Davis Foundation,
Sure.
not just to affect meaningful change in able-bodied lives,
Sure.
but people with physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, people struggling with mental health issues.
Sure.
I've struggled a lot of my life.
Sure.
People see the outside, the external,
Sure.
They don't actually see what's behind the scenes,
Sure.
and they don't understand what is going on in your head when you have a smile on your face.
Sure.
So the Roxy Davis Foundation was kind of officially founded this year,
Sure.
but it really has been going for 18 years, just not in a formal capacity.
Sure.
So we want to take evidence-based best practice principles and offer that surf therapy
Sure.
to anybody who wants to experience the life-changing benefits that it has to offer.
Sure. And I mean, how do people get involved, or do they get in touch with you? Do you guys have a website that's up and running?
Yes, we have a website. It's the roxydavisfoundation.org. And it's really exciting. At the moment, we do a once-a-month adaptive clinic.
Sure.
Anybody is able to come down and participate. Next year, we are hoping to double the number of clinics that we run more micro clinics, offer it to more people, and really just put the word out there.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time. We really look forward to having you on the stage on the 22nd of August and to seeing, what comes of Surf Emporium and the foundation. I think you're doing absolutely incredible work, and as a female, I truly look up to you, and I'm sure that there are many, many more of us that, are just benefiting so much from your words alone. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that, folks, is Roxy Davis, 9-time South African surf champion, mother, and super successful business owner, on what attaining grit through her professional surf journey has meant to the entrepreneurial journey. Now, if you would like to hear more from her, as well as 2 other very powerful females, namely Hanli Prinsloo and Sizakele Moruklule, then come on out to the Heavy Chefs event on the 22nd of August, right here at Workshop 17. And of course, you can check out all those details on www.heavychef.com. And that, folks, is Caley Africa signing out of the Heavy Chef interview chair until next week. Hamba kahle.